Has stories about any like first time experience with anything, feel free to come up and we'll play music behind you. Thanks a lot. Does anybody have a first time story?
Yeah. I don't want to go first.
Okay. Does anybody want to go first?
How about we do,
Okay, we're gonna play. We're just gonna do a little like warm-up jam for you guys, and then and then we'll get going.
Yeah, I'll go first.
All right, go.
Okay, run away. Run away.
The first time usually is being naive. This is for all the guys here. Guys, the first time ever you walked into your girlfriend's restroom, it's pretty scary. You see all kinds of stuff you've never seen before. For months, I was in my girlfriend's restroom, and there was this thing on the counter. There was this thing with clamps and handles and things. I didn't know what it was. So for 2 months, I was naive. I didn't want to know what it was. I finally asked, and it was her eyelash curler. That's what it was.
Thanks a lot. So yeah, this is first time stories. I picked the wrong day to quit smoking. Song's called The First Day I Quit Smoking. Alright, we're really ready. If anybody has a...
I'm ready.
Alright, come on. We're ready for you.
What are we doing, Phil?
This is going to be like a minor, kind of a popular record. Or to stay up. The world's falling apart. Alright, you guys, the world was supposed to end today. I'm glad to see we're all here. The story I'm going to tell you guys is probably not like the other ones you're going to hear today. In fact, I'm going to tell you about the first time I died in a dream. And it's okay, it was just a dream, you know, but it wasn't like those Nightmare on Elm Street stories, you know, where if you die in the dream, that means you die for real. I didn't die for real. In fact, first thing I did was get up and take a leak because, you know, that's what doctors make you do after you have an operation. They call it a sign of life. So anyway, when I died in the dream, I found out what my last words will be. So you'll have to wait till the end of the story to find those out, but sometimes you know when dreams are going to come true. This is called 7 Meals from Chaos. I am in the subway when the world burns. Some kind of cascading power failure sends my train crashing into another. I hear the crack of crumpling steel and the tubular thud of my head hitting the railing. Now pain. blackness. It seems like hours trying to regain consciousness in the darkness. But already in the tunnel, I smell the smoke, sweet and acrid at the same time. There in the dark, it all but chokes out the light from my cell phone that guides me to the surface. And everything is burned. The trees, the houses, charred corpses everywhere. Black and steaming. Above, the sky of smoke blocks out the sun. I walk for a day and find no food or water, but at the city center I come upon a wrecked city bus. It's turned on its side. Inside the bus, the bodies are fused, burned, and contorted. But I have to climb over them. I have to find food. There behind the driver's seat, a lunchbox. Inside, a cheese sandwich in tinfoil and a Coke. I down the Coke in 3 swigs and sit on the empty curb to eat. One bite, something like Gruyere cheese maybe. It's still molten from the fire. A kid is watching me. His eyes are black, vacant coal. His body is badly burned. His hand is gone. Here, kid, take it. The kid takes the food and runs off without a word. How long can he last, I wonder? Then I see the man in black emerge from the shadows. His suit is clean and free of soot and the foulness that surrounds us. Forgive my English, he says. My name is Mycenus. I have water, food, and shelter. Come, please. The bunker is many levels below the street. The elevator is stainless steel and smells of oil like something new from the factory. The dining room is opulent with dark maple chairs and a white tablecloth. 2 men and 2 women stand to greet me and hand me a bottle of water. We do the introductions. Meal number 1. First there is salad. I go for the blue cheese and croutons and bacon bits. I'm so hungry. The baguettes are like heaven. I could swim in these greens and the joy of stuffing myself, I swear. The others continue on to the next course, but sated now, I can only think of sleep. Meal number 2. Breakfast is a veggie skillet. Eggs, green peppers, onions, and potatoes, all smothered in a cheese sauce. I notice Robin then. She is young and gorgeous, incredibly buff. I tell her how I used to get the same skillet here at Joe's Cellar. Meal number 3. Cheeseburgers for lunch, grilled with all the fixins, sesame buns, incredible. It turns out Mycenus was a chef whose family came into big money. I ask him to tell me more about the bunker. I can't place his accent, Serbian maybe. Meal number 4. Mycenus emerges from the cooler with large cuts of prime rib. The cooler is cavernous. Shelves of everything from canned goods to freeze-dried meals. And for some reason, I notice that the door can be bolted from the inside. One of the 2 men is named Jackson, some kind of athlete, I'm guessing. He tells me how Mycenus saved him when the world burned. The other is a professor. He has a similar story, but he keeps checking his watch. If there's any humanity still left out there, it will soon be gone, he says. He read a paper at Cambridge that says, in a food shortage, society will totally break down after the inhabitants miss their 7th meal. I look at the food and think of what might be happening out there. Disease, chaos, anarchy. Meal number 5. Brunches, crepes, coffee, fruit, toast, an array of dishes laid out in perfection. The one other girl, her name is Angela, she opens up to us. Her father beat her when she found out he was pregnant. Her story is captivating and no one notices when I grab some baguettes, put them in my backpack, and when everyone sleeps, I climb up out through the elevator to go find the boy. He's hiding under the hulk of a fire truck. He won't come out. I leave the food for him and make my way back. And then something stirs behind me. Footsteps maybe? No, there's no one. The world is a graveyard in cinder. Meal 6. We're having soup and sandwiches when something crashes outside. My Sanus runs to bolt the door, and we hear pounding and screaming. "They're here," he yells. "How could they find us? How could this be?" I look at my backpack. I have brought our doom. My Sanus looks down. "We are not going to make it," he says. "I'm so sorry. All the makings to rebuild the world. And now this tragic fate." He goes to the cabinet and takes a pill. I catch him as he collapses. He looks at me, almost peaceful, as the door begins to buckle. I hold him. "Please, I have to know. Why me?" A long breath, then he says, "I wanted compassion to die last." The door crashes open. The mob is tattered, burned, wild-eyed. In their hands, crude weapons, pipes, and clubs. They're coming for us. I throw the tray of bread at the opposite wall, and they go for it, scrambling. I grab Robin's arm, and we run towards the cooler. The iron pipe comes down on my forearm. Compound fracture. Blood everywhere. They have her. I crawl towards the cooler and pull the door closed just as the smallest of them starts to come for me. It was the boy. Meal 7. Inside the cooler now. Terrible screams. Smoke smell. Pounding. My arm is wrapped. Dead. Useless. It's been days now and they keep trying the door. And now it sounds like a fire axe hacking at the hinges. They'll be inside soon. I scribble these words with my left hand and think about all the good fortune I've had in my life. My friends, my first Harley, the sun in Lisa's hair on our wedding day, and the birth of my son. And then I think of my Sanus. So many questions. Was he right? Will compassion die here now with me? Or did it die long ago? And is that why the world burned? No answers. Just swallow the pill now. But first, I have to figure out what I'm going to say when I go to meet God. And then I know. I'm so grateful. DJ!
I am so grateful. That was really good. Wonderful.
Okay, we'll play a little song we wrote yesterday.
This is actually the first time I told my girlfriend her arm was dead. Oh, that was good. I like that one. What is it, babe?
Okay, this song's called The First Time I Got My Ass Kicked. We're the Snow Snakes. Thanks for coming, everybody. Was a dark night in a cold bar and a holiday as well. I was drinking shots of whiskey all alone. When I told you you were a fucktard, wasn't expecting the blow to the head on the floor, laying in a pool of blood. And I felt bad, and I got up, and I was kicked out in the rain. That was the first time I got my ass kicked. That was the first time. Was a dark night in a cold bar and a holiday as well. I was drinking shots of whiskey all alone. ass kicked. It was in a bar. First time, got my ass kicked, and I was laying on the floor. Thanks a lot. We're Snow Snakes. If anybody has any real first-time stories, come on up. Maybe. Come on. Please.
Huh?
Anybody?
Lauren does. Why don't you call out Lauren?
Come on, Lauren. Come on, first-time story.
Come on, Lauren. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Can you bring me one?
We can have it delivered.
Take a burrito.
Yeah.
The date was June 16th, 1991. I double-checked my diary for accuracy. That way I can properly tell you about the first time I got caught sneaking out. By this time, me being 12, I had sneaked me out down to a science. My bedroom was in the basement of our 3-story house on the east side of Mount Tabor. And the window I slid out of was at the top of the ceiling, about 3 feet long, 2 feet tall. And it landed me on the ground in the flower bed, in between the ferns, and 2 floors directly below my parents' bedroom window. In preparing for the sneak-outs, I would turn off the light that went down the stairs that my mom would leave on as a nightlight for me, shut my bedroom door, and take the phone off the ringer. However, this night, I forgot to take the phone off the hook. And Jessica Velasquez, still one of my very dear and best friends, called to tell me that she wasn't coming. My mother picked up the phone and proceeded to come downstairs to my bedroom to tell me that I had a phone call and found me not there. During this time, I was 2 blocks away, waiting on the stairs of Bridger Elementary, when a small red 2-door Toyota Tercel stopped in front of me and piled out 5 rather ghetto girls that were older, taller, and circling around me. One pulled out a switchblade, the other kicked me in my back. Soon enough, they lifted my jacket, my little switchblade I had in my back pocket, and my infamous Swatch watch. Cold and crying, I ran home to find that my bedroom door was open, the downstairs light was on, and no longer was my phone in my room. Knowing I was busted, I went upstairs in tears. I mean, I got jumped. How bad was my mom really gonna be to me? I can still remember her sitting on the couch with a lamp on, reading a book in silence, waiting for me to come home. The first words out of her mouth were, "Where the hell have you been? Don't you have any idea what time it is?" And that's when I lost it. "No, Mom, these girls jumped me at Bridger and stole my Swatch watch." Needless to say, I didn't get phone privileges for the rest of the summer. My mom bolted down every basement window, even went to the extent of putting an alarm sensor on my window. But probably the coolest thing my mom did, the very next morning, she woke me up, fed me breakfast, and enrolled me in Taekwondo. That way, quote unquote, my daughter won't ever get her ass beat again.
Cool.
I don't have enough alcohol or food in it. Oh yeah? Oh nice.
We've been trying to learn Peggy Lee all week.
Nice.
Is that all there is? Is that all there is?
Is that all there is?
Is that all there is?
studied it.
Fire?
Oh nice.
We crafted it to our own
I have no idea.
Nice though.
I have no idea.
Yeah, we'll do. Basically,
I know we have.
You made it here, right? So I'm just doing kids.
start playing and you do
So we start.
Alright. Hey, glad you all made it today. My name's John, and I's got the diabetes. The first time that I ever had a ketoacidotic shock was, I was invited to a picnic a couple years back, and it was one of the best picnics I ever went to. I got there about 11 in the morning. They had a ton of food. There was 6 tables set out. There was potato salad, macaroni salad. There was macaroni and cheese. There was potato chips, Fritos, Doritos. They had hamburgers and hot dogs on the grill. They had chicken. They had ribs. And you know, when I think back now, I had too much. Barbecue, I had too much. Barbecue, I had too much. Barbecue, I had too much. Barbecue. Now the guy who invited me, he was dating this Mexican girl, and her whole family came, and they made flautos and taquitos. They had quesadillas and tamales. They had burritos. They started doing corn on the grill, and they threw steak on there, and they said it was carne asada. And when I think back now, you know, I had too much. Barbecue, 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 I had too much. About the time they brought out the desserts, I realized I hadn't brought my insulin that day, but they had a ton of desserts. They had cookies and lemon meringue pie. They had rainbow sherbet. They had a big jar of Twizzlers, and then the kids started with marshmallows on the grill, and people started making s'mores, and they had a ton of alcohol there too. There was beer and wine and sangria. They even had tequila, and people started saying, "John, you're acting a little weird," and I don't remember. I took off my clothes and wandered out in a field, passed out. I guess somebody called the paramedics, and when the paramedics got there, they were doing CPR. And they revived me, and the paramedics asked the questions that they always ask. Do you know your name? And I said, my name's John. They said, do you know where you're at? And I said, a picnic. They said, do you know what day it is? I said, it's Saturday. And then they asked me, do you know what happened? And I looked at the officer, and even though I was naked and sunburned and semi-conscious, I managed to pull this giant harmonica out of somewhere. And I looked at the officer and I said, sir, I had too much barbecue, I had too much barbecue, I had too much barbecue, I had too much barbecue. And everybody gathered around me and they all started singing. He had too much barbecue, he had too much barbecue, he had too much barbecue, he had too much barbecue. And I think all of us at one time or another have overindulged. So if we can have a sing-along, and let's do this as we. You guys ready? We had too much barbecue, 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 we had too much barbecue. Thank you very much.
Wow.
Everyone should travel. Yeah. Selling compliments.
What? It's like, you know,
And then G. Oh, yes.
yeah, this is actually a song Vera wrote. It's called The First Time I Read Bukowski, and we're going to play it for you right now. Thanks.
I don't know it.
Still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I don't want to
18 years old, in a second-story bedroom, opened a book. The book was called Women. Dear Lord, what trite crap. He had beautiful legs and an ugly face and a dismal look on the human race. First time I read Bukowski, second time I read Bukowski, I lay in bed, was factotum, was running through my head. Then suddenly, it all made sense. He had beautiful legs and an ugly face and a dismal look on the human race. First time I read Bukowski, Thank you.
Can I tell Mike about our awkward morning in front of you, or should I wait till
The first time I had a really awkward morning.
Weird. I just said awkward
Do you
morning.
have your story? I know, I heard you, that's why
Oh, okay,
I do one of those things when I hear something, then I repeat it and I try to make it my own. I know, it's crazy. Oh, I got it from you. Wait a second. The first time I stole Amy's thing when she hears something somebody else says and then says it and tries to make it her own.
First time you figured out that it's called echolalia.
Hey,
We learned the song.
you gotta do it because we learned the song.
Not right now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Take your time. Do it.
We've been working on this for weeks.
We worked on
Aww. It's gonna suck.
So I missed, has anybody told their first time story yet?
I'll think so.
I want
So
to
this
be
is
the
like
first
the
time that anyone's ever,
CFP one?
What is it?
first time.
It's like
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
First time.
So, I was in therapy. Instead of getting grounded, my mom, she would give me therapy. I would have to go to therapy every time I did anything wrong. 3 months of therapy, 3 times a week. So it became the holy mission of my therapist to keep me a virgin. I would come in there with hickeys on my neck and he'd be like, Sherry, do you think he really loves you? Let's give him a test. And all the boys, they would fail until I was the oldest virgin at Bayside High School with hickeys on my neck. It was so sad. But then I met a boy. And his name was Sean, and he passed all the tests. Little did I know it was because he also had all these other girls on the side, so it was easy for him when I would neglect him or make him jump through my hoops because he had all these other girls on the side. So we spent the months together giving each other hickeys in the Chevette with the seats down. And then we went to the formal dances together in the Chevette with the seats down. Finally, it was time. Ken Mitchum's parents were out of town. We got really drunk. We drank a case of Busch beer. I wore my mother's fancy camisole with underoos that I had found from the thrift store. Wonder Woman underoos. And I was so drunk, I don't remember anything. And the next morning we did it again, and I said, is that all there is? Actually, I think I said, are you done yet? Is that all there is to the circus? So sad. But we dated for a while afterwards until finally I blacked out drunk one time and was rolling around in a driveway kissing one of his friends. And then he was strangling me. I don't remember that either. But now we're Facebook friends. Everything turned out okay. I wish I still had those underoos.
It really happened as far as I can remember. But it doesn't matter me.
All right. Cool.
Feels like I want cigarettes.
Come on.
Bad.
Come on, Adrian.
Adrian.
Give me a little time.
No, fuck me. Seriously, fuck me. All right, come on. Tony.
Okay, so I didn't.
Dag. Okay, dag. Let's jag it. Totally dag it.
Gad.
Okay, yeah, G-A-D.
Okay.
little nervous. I didn't prepare like this other people, I don't think. The first time stories, I was a little nervous. But I'm not going to tell my first time story, but it's connected, which I don't know, some of you in this room might remember your first time getting stoned, your first time learning to get stoned, which is, as you might know, a process and not a one-time thing. And so I was a virgin, and that's a good way to start. And I was a good girl who did not do any drugs, did not drink. I went to Christian school, and so after Christian school, it's not all that surprising that I moved in with a household of boys who were all stoners, but I abstained because I was a good girl and I just hung out and it was fun, cooked, cleaned the house, and then one Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve or something, we're having a big sleepover, big slumber party, 6 hot guys, myself, totally sober, and this hot lead singer of a band walks in with a big bong, and it's midnight and he says, bong, 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 bong. It's time for all of us to get stoned, and I had said no so many times, but in the face of this glorious man who I'd seen on stage, there was no saying no anymore, and I decided it was time for Tony to actually get stoned with the troupe. And so, growing up with around all these guys, you know, we didn't have joints, we just had bongs and pipes, and so we took the little ball, and each person kind of got their own, we passed it around, which is a lead-in to the end of the story. And so, they gave me my little bit of weed, and I did the best I could, and I remember I spent the next several hours in a lot of pain. I did not get stoned, I just hated it. I was burning inside. But at that point, I figured I was committed, and I knew this was going to be a process, but I was committed to the process. So I committed the next few weeks to smoking every day until I finally actually got stoned. And every time someone offered me a pipe, I did everything I could, and my throat burned, and nothing happened, and nothing happened, and nothing happened. Until it was my first time getting stoned. I was working through some of my late teens, early 20s virginity angst by doing nude photography. This is my way of being sexual without being out of control. So I'm going to do this photo shoot with this old bald guy. He's a real sweetheart, I'd say. Never did anything weird. And it's Saturday in January, sunny out, and I put on a black velvet bustier with feather cups and a sheer back, and I need to cover up the rest, so I put on my dad's old Levi's and roll them down, put some boots on, and drive to North Portland, which then was like way out, crazy land. And I get there, and the photographer goes, would it be nice for you to get high? And I'm like, yes. And I still didn't know what that meant. But he hands me a pipe with a really big ball of weed in it, which I still, as of yet, did not understand that something like that meant passing back and forth. To me, I thought that was for me. And I thought it was a commitment. So I was going to do my best. And I smoked, and I waited, and I smoked, and I waited. And this poor guy watched me hog a whole and he was like 50, and I was like 19. The photo shoot didn't go all that great, but I still have some pictures to remember it by. But I remember leaving and getting in my car and realizing that something had changed. And I didn't know how to get home. and I was really, really thirsty. And so I just start driving randomly. I'm driving my parents' old Audi in my outfit. I guess it maybe wasn't a weekend. Let's say it's Friday. Let's say it's Friday, sunny, noon, January. And I finally come across a strip of places I know, which is Broadway, and there's like all of those fast food joints. And I think, awesome, I can drive through and get a soda. But then as I'm driving down the strip, I can't decide. Everything looks awesome. And then I don't want to drive through anymore. I want to walk in because everything is so awesome. And so if you guys pretend that you are a whole bunch of businessmen on break at Lloyd Center from your business jobs in your suits at Burger King, and I walk in my velvet bustier with the feather cups, strutting through Burger King on a Friday in the snow. And then I get in line, and all of a sudden, the choices are endless. A soda doesn't seem to cut it anymore. I think to myself, I'm going to look awesome for you to shake. And of course, someone in front of me in line gets in a fight with the cashier, which I think is hilarious. And then when I do finally get my shake, it doesn't do much for my thirst, even though I'm sure in the end it did look as awesome as I hoped. And eventually I did make it home with my shake and my outfit, but that was my first time getting stoned, which did eventually lead into my first time having sex.
Thanks a lot.
I got a short one. I got an announcement. We've been videotaping this, and we did it last time at Ghost Stories. So if you want to watch that or tell your friends about it, it's at overheardinpdx.com. That's overheardinpdx.com. So I got a quick one here. I'm kind of a regular. I know a lot of you folks from Moo Moo's, so I'm going to tell you the first time I went to Moo Moo's. Yeah, it was a very odd thing. All right, so I was separated, so I decided that I was going to go on Match.com and get myself a date. And this beautiful blonde said, yeah, she'll meet me out. She wanted to go to a movie. So I looked up and I wanted to see something artsy. And over at Cinema 21 was this movie called Donnie Darko. Anybody seen this movie? Jake Gyllenhaal, good movie. Okay. So we decided to meet at Moo Moo's because I saw that it was right next door. And I'm sitting in the bar stool having a beer. And she walks in the sunlight, just silhouette of beauty. And I realize this chick is 6 feet tall. Now, she doesn't realize how short I am because I'm sitting on a tall bar stool, so I'm just going to play this for all it's worth, right? And we sit for like 2 hours, and she doesn't drink, she quit. But she goes, you know, there's something about this place. And she has a beer, and she has another. And next thing you know, we're kind of loaded. And we get up to go to the movie, and I get off the stool, and she looks down at me like, and her exact words are, oh fuck. So anyway, we go to this movie, and she she asked me during the drinking, she said, "What's your favorite movies?" I said, "That's easy. I only own 2 DVDs. Martin Scorsese's The Last Temptation of Christ and The Evil Dead by Sam Raimi. Those are the only 2 DVDs I have." So we go to Donnie Darko, and somewhere over the course of the movie, he takes his girlfriend to a movie, and up on the marquee are 2 movie titles. Last Temptation of Christ and Evil Dead. And we look at each other and we go, and she repeats her famous line, "Oh fuck." Anyway, we got out of the movie, came out, and went back to Moomoo's, had another beer, and she said, "You know, that was the worst movie I've ever seen." And I go, "I love that movie." So needless to say, it didn't work out. She drove me home, we made out, I never saw her again. But now I go to Moomoo's probably 5 times a week, so that's it. Thank you, folks. This morning, Vera actually wrote it. It's called "The First Time I Told My Girlfriend Her Art Was Shit."
True story. Worked my ass off on it.
We never practiced it, so I might be a little rough. It's like GCD and I go CCD. That one.
What?
GCD, and then there's that second part that goes CCD. Alright. 1, 2, 3, 4. The first time I told my girlfriend that her art was shit, I looked at her cardboard drawings and I thought about it. I thought her colors were all wrong, and then I decided to write this song. Then I gave her a critique, and we talked about technique. She thought I was a total freak. First time I told my girlfriend her art was shit. Thanks a lot. We're the Snow Snakes. If anybody has any stories, feel free to step up.
The first time I told my boyfriend that his guitar solo sucked. Was just now.
about my first blowjob. Woo! It's a really short story. It's a short story. Well, I mean, nobody ever tells you how to give a blowjob. And I grew up in a Christian home, and so I didn't watch porn or anything. So I had to make it up. And we were doing some heavy petting, and I decided to give it a try. I pulled it out, and I was like, okay, here goes. I was so scared, and so I started to blow. And I was trying different techniques, a little hot breath, blowing around the tip. I thought I was being pretty fancy. And then I looked up at him, and he was not impressed. That's when it clicked. I'm supposed to put it in my mouth. Gross. So I tried that. I didn't think that was very fun. I gave it 3 licks, and then I was done. That was the end.
Anybody has the first 5 stories? Sounds like talking to the microphone. We're ready for you. Don't be shy. This is a good setup we got here.
I woke up yesterday, ate a sandwich, went to bed.
For real. Like a haiku. Like a haiku poem.
Alright, so I'm going to tell the story of the first time I peed my pants. So, I was 20 at the time, and I was driving the car with my brother's Christian wife, super religious chick who I absolutely hated. She was a cunt. And I'm going to the airport to pick up my boyfriend's best friend, Chad, who slightly retarded, but love him to death. And I've heard some rumors about Chad and his experiences in Thailand. And I figure what better place than to ask about what he's done in Thailand than with the Christian wife. And he gets in the car and he's a little out of it from the layover and jet lag. And I go, Chad, I've heard some stories about you at a bar and a bathroom. And he goes, yeah, no, it's really weird. So my girlfriend is Vietnamese and she decides she's gonna go back home and visit her family. And I've got no friends. So I go to the bar with her and her girlfriend, or her girlfriend's best friend, and this girl's hitting on me, and I go, you know, I'm a little drunk, and my girlfriend's out of town, I think I can, like, tap this. And the girlfriend's best friend, she's just sitting there not saying anything. So him and the girl go to the bathroom, and she ends up giving him head, and he walks out, and he's like, God, I feel so good. You know, I just got blown in a bathroom in Thailand, like, pretty fucking awesome. And he sits back down at the bar, and he's just thinking, sipping on his beer. And his girlfriend's best friend goes, I hope you know you just got blown by a dude. And he doesn't know what to say. He's a little shocked, kind of pissed at the girlfriend's best friend. Why didn't you tell me? And just sits there, and the whole time that he's telling this story, I'm cracking up. And the Christian wife is almost in tears. And I'm crying, and I'm peeing my pants because I cannot believe that he just told the story, and he's going into graphic detail. And the Christian wife It's just ghost white and angry and sad. Thank you.
Adrian's coming! Adrian! Alright. Oh, I will totally not smoke for you, Adrian. I will totally not smoke for you. I didn't know you played accordion. I don't. I have no idea how to. It's my first time playing the accordion. Yay!
Hi guys, I'm a screwed up voice, so I don't know if you can understand me. I was in an explosion years ago and lost my voice. Anyway, my story is kind of a love story. This is quite a few years ago. I see this girl walking downtown Portland, boots on, miniskirt, really pretty girl. And she shoots me the eye, and well, we end up independently of each other at what's it called? The place across from Nordstrom's. No, Virginia Cafe, thank you, yes. And it's quite empty there, and she goes to the bartender like this, you know, and points over there, and it's like three people there just pointing at me, you know, so it's like the bartender comes over, she leaves, the bartender comes over and says, well, her name is Christy, she's a regular here. But she was hot, you know, she was a redhead. I found out later she was a Sagittarius. She was part Italian, part Irish, and part Cherokee. I mean, yeah, crazy bitch. I'm sorry, but so he said, well, she wanted me to give you her phone number, so I called her up and I made a date. And about a week later, we had our date. And again, it's semi-empty there. And I buy dinner, we had something to eat, and I realized there's something wrong with her beautiful red hair. And I said, what's up with that hair? What's going on there? You know? Right when I said it, I realized that she had mustard in her hair. So, and she, like I said, she was a fireball. She looked at me for half a second, grabbed her glass, threw a drink in my face. While she is doing that, I'm bending forward to make an apology. She hits me in the nose with a glass, breaks my nose. I pass out. The EMTs come, bring me to the hospital. And that was the first time I got beat up by a girl and knocked unconscious.
wasted. I had 2 shots of tequila and decided to go over to my friend's house and smoke a big bowl of marijuana. And needed to stop by Popeyes afterwards on MLK. And my boyfriend called, and my phone had slid off the front seat, hit the floorboard. And I reached over to grab it and took the wheel with me, hit a parked Viper, and took down a telephone pole and got a DUI for blowing a .08.
I just want to add that I lived with this woman 3 years.
Hey, this is one I'm trying to work out with the band. It's all about first times, and the name of the song is First Time. It goes like this. Do you remember the first time? Might have been the last time, but maybe next time you'll want more. Do you remember the first time that I saw you? You was walking in as I walked out the door. Do you remember the first time you tried spaghetti? Do you remember the first time you caught a fish? Do you remember the first time you said I'm not ready? Or threw a penny in a pond and made a wish? Do you remember the first time you danced tango? Do you remember the first time you flew a kite? Do you remember the first time you ate a mango? Do you remember the first time that you stayed out all night? Do you remember the first time? Might have been the last time, but maybe next time you want more. Do you remember the first time that I saw you? You was walking in as I walked out the door. First time you got kinky, reading the Karma Sutra with a friend. Remember the first time you played with a slinky? Remember the first time you had no money left to spend? You remember the first time? Might have been the last time, but maybe next time you want more. Do you remember the first time that I saw you? You was walking in as I walked out the door. Turkey.
Unless anybody has any more stories, we're probably gonna go chain smoke cigarettes.
Yes, that's bro.
Thanks a lot, everybody, for coming. We'll do one next month. I don't know what it's going to be. And thanks for all your stories. We're Snow Snakes. Thanks a lot. That was great.